How stork legends, myths, and omens have shaped history. In stark contrast to today's world, ancient humans maintained profound connections with nature and wild animals. These relationships extended beyond mere utility, weaving into the rich tapestry of imagination and myth. This video confidently explores the captivating relationship between ancient Mediterranean civilizations and the stork, an animal that has intrigued and inspired human creativity for centuries. This fascination likely arises from shared agricultural environments and the stork's use of man-made structures for their large nests, making them a prominent and familiar presence in the landscape. It's no wonder that a wealth of ancient stork legends has developed over time. The stork has been such a recognizable companion to humans that it has given rise to one of the earliest instances of linguistic zoomorphism. Isidore of Seville, 6th century AD, mentions a ciconia as an instrument utilized by Roman and Hispanic farmers for drawing water. This ingenious tool featured an upright frame with a long pole or branch suspended at one end, where buckets, skin bags, or coated reed baskets could be attached. This irrigation device, known as a shadoof, was already in use in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia as far back as the 2nd millennium BC, and its silhouette resembles a stork drinking or feeding from ponds. From ancient representations in sacred structures dating back to the early Neolithic period at Göbekli Tepe in southern Anatolia, 11,500 years ago, to Egyptian papyrus artifacts and Roman wall paintings, storks have been consistently depicted. These representations often showcase remarkable detail, making it easy to identify storks, even though some confusion arose in the Middle Ages when they were sometimes mistaken for cranes or ibises. In Avenches, Switzerland, ancient Aventicum, a significant temple complex dedicated to the spirit of Helvetia Roman Switzerland, proudly features a column known as the Cigognier, which has served as a nesting site for storks since time immemorial. The first engraving of this nest, created by M. Marion the Elder in 1642, marks the beginning of a long-standing association, continued until its removal in 1978 during archaeological restoration. Notably, Marion's coat of arms featured a stork with the motto, Pietas contenta lucrator. Throughout history, storks have held significant symbolic meaning. The Egyptians depicted the divine spiritual Ba, a facet of the human soul, through the saddle-billed stork, Ephipiorhynchus senegalensis. Aelian supports this practice, observing that the stork's breast, viewed frontally, resembles a heart, an emblem of the soul. The enduring presence of storks in Italy during Roman times is well documented in naturalistic treatises such as Pliny's Naturalis Historia, as well as other literary works. Juvenal, for example, noted a white stork nesting on the roof of the Temple of Concordia in Rome around 100 AD. References to storks vary, with some offering vague indications of their presence, and others clearly identifying nesting sites during specific historical periods, while hinting at various stork-related legends. In a notable work from 37 BC, Virgil famously suggests that vines be planted during the arrival of the stork, often seen as an enemy of snakes. However, explicit details of the nesting locations remain elusive, and it's unclear which part of Italy Virgil had in mind. What is indisputably clear is that, depending on the period and perspective of the writing, storks are depicted as harbingers of spring, as noted by Virgil and Petronius, or as markers of winter, as mentioned by Pliny, Hesiod, and Aristophanes. Pliny's keen observations reveal substantial insights into stork migrations, including their movements and nesting habits. He also notes the existence of domestic storks likely housed in Bavaria, where ancient Romans kept wild animals for entertainment purposes. While Pliny's observations about stork migrations are largely accurate, he incorrectly asserts that these migrations occur at night. In reality, storks fly during the day, taking advantage of rising thermals. Due to their generally silent nature, some ancient cultures propagated legends stating that storks lacked tongues. In truth, adult storks produce a soft hiss while also generating a distinctive bill-clattering sound during social interactions. Young storks are capable of a range of vocalizations, including harsh hisses, various cheeping sounds, and even cat-like mews when demanding food. The dynamics of these birds serve as a vivid testament to their fascinating place in both nature and human culture. The Romans unmistakably viewed the clattering of storks as a sign of derision, symbolically represented by joining all the fingers of a hand to form a stork's beak. Ancient sources are rich with fascinating legends about these birds. For instance, Aristotle asserted that when storks and other birds were injured in combat, they would heal their wounds with origanum. This belief likely explains why the Faculty of Medicine at the University of Paris prominently features 3 silver storks as its emblem, each grasping a sprig of origanum in its beak. Pliny the Elder documented that a stork's stomach was considered a powerful antidote against all poisons, particularly when mixed with sheep's milk, and that eating stork chicks was thought to cure conjunctivitis. Aelian noted that storks were natural adversaries of bats and seagulls, while Juvenal reported that their diet consisted primarily of snakes and lizards found in desolate fields. Furthermore, Horace observed that in the 1st century BC, Romans did not consume turbot or storks. However, matters changed when Sempronius Rufus, a political candidate, began to promote storks as a culinary delicacy, leading to their widespread hunting. This trend was short-lived. By Pliny's time, storks were no longer on the menu and had been replaced by cranes. The political fate of Sempronius is well documented. After being rejected by the magistrate's court, he became the subject of an epigram that humorously addressed his downfall, viewed as a form of retribution from the populus Siconiarum, or stork people. Artemidorus Daldianus, a prominent diviner in the 2nd century AD, confidently associated the image of a stork in dreams with negative omens, predicting bad weather, drought, and imminent attacks by enemies and pirates. In terms of military exploits, Procopius of Caesarea detailed in his Vandal Wars how even Attila the Hun was influenced by a stork during the sack of Aquileia in 452. According to legend, as Attila prepared to retreat, a white stork flew from the city's tower carrying its nestlings. This sight convinced the superstitious Attila that the stork's departure foreshadowed the destruction of its nest, prompting him to order his army to attack the part of the walls left unguarded by the stork, leading to a successful breach. Thus, Attila seized control of the city. Legends abound regarding storks as fierce enemies of snakes. Numerous authors revered these birds in Thessaly, where killing a stork was considered akin to committing murder. Legends abound regarding storks as fierce enemies of snakes. Greek mythology includes a compelling tale about Antigone, the daughter of the Trojan king Laomedon and sister of King Priam. Antigone claimed her hair was more beautiful than Hera's, provoking Hera to turn her hair into snakes. A sympathetic god ultimately transformed Antigone into a stork, thereby explaining why these birds prey on snakes. As Christianity emerged, these ancient beliefs significantly shaped the symbolism of storks in Christian doctrine. The serpent symbolized the devil, while the stork took on the role of Ophiomachos, a creature that battles snakes in this spiritual conflict. Nevertheless, the stork's positive interpretation was absent in the Old Testament. Leviticus and Deuteronomy deemed storks unclean birds, and biblical texts, especially Zechariah, lack any favorable references. Returning to their favorable symbolism, storks were celebrated by Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans as exemplars of filial piety. They were believed to demonstrate unwavering family loyalty by returning to the same nest each year and caring for their aging parents. Petronius aptly described this as pietaticultrix, meaning cultivator of piety. In ancient Rome, the lex Siconiaria, or alimentaria, drew inspiration from an earlier Greek law attributed to Solon, 7th–6th century BC, mandating that children must support their elderly parents. This reputation for care continued into Christianity, where the stork served as a model for filial duty in exhortations made by Basil of Caesarea, 4th century AD. More broadly, the stork symbolized pietas and natural gratitude. The term antipelargia, meaning to act like a stork, emphasized the importance of returning a benefit, and fidelitas. Storks were seen as enforcers of marital fidelity, unable to tolerate betrayal among humans. This belief endured through the ages. Centuries later, in the Parliament of the Birds, The English poet Geoffrey Chaucer reinforced the stork's role as the avenger of adultery. The stork is a powerful symbol of fidelity, embraced by various Roman legions, including Legio III Italica, and prominent families like the gens Caecilia for politically propagandistic purposes. Moreover, storks are central figures in some of the oldest fairy tales ever told. They prominently feature in Aesop's fables from the 6th century BC, which were later adapted by Phaedrus in the 1st century BC. One of the most enduring legends surrounding storks is their supposed role in delivering babies to new parents. This captivating legend likely originated in ancient Greece or Egypt, despite the ongoing debate about whether the creatures in those myths were storks, cranes, or herons. The legend gained widespread recognition in the 19th century when Hans Christian Andersen crafted his memorable tale, The Storks. In this enchanting story, families receive sleeping babies delivered by storks, who retrieve the infants from serene ponds or lakes. Additionally, the Greek word pelargos meaning stork, has inspired the scientific name for the pelargonium, commonly known as geranium, due to the striking resemblance between the plant's seed pod and the stork's beak. Ultimately, contrary to the notions presented by the ancient dream interpreter Artemidorus, storks carry a distinctly positive connotation in Lenormand tarot cards. The card number 17, the stork, represents transformative changes, spiritual and existential renewals, loving reconciliations, and joyful reunions with people from the past or from afar.